Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of the Nova Express. I'm very excited to have Rakshita, or also known as Awkquarian, here as a guest today. She's the first esoteric guest on the podcast, so I'm really, really excited about that. Rakshita is a builder and a creator in the space. She's the founder of Coven Classics. She's also, I think, like the founder or co-founder of the BRUNETTE community as well, which also has its meme coin. And we've known each other since like the old onchain music days. So welcome, Rakshita. Thank you so much for being here on the pod with me. I'm quite excited to have you. We're talking. You're in Nepal now, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to ask you, like before even we dive into the nuances or the crypto stuff, like what are you doing in Nepal? You told me you were searching for something. Like,
Yeah.
why are you there?
So I think like it's like a really deep question. So every time like I feel a little lost in life, like I'm a very scientific person. Like I'm from a very academic background. My dad's like like a guy who's from physics and my maths background. He like writes textbook from the States. But like sometimes when I don't find answers to like practicality, I just like look above of sorts. And sometimes in like that journey, something tells me to just like go to places, look for inspiration, just like get lost. And it comes in the like the form of like an answer to like to go to a journey to a place or to go like on a journey to something. So this time, like, I hadn't been planning this Nepal trip. I really just wanted to like I was just feeling really lost and I just wanted to like find myself again. And like it's my birthday like next weekend and my partner was coming over and he was like, "Hey, you want to go somewhere?" And I just like got coupons to go to Nepal. Like I just like randomly like they just like bumped into me and I was like, "You want to go to
Coupons, like a free trip, something like that.
yeah.
Oh,
Like
oh, cool,
coupons to like a hotel and a spa." Yeah, like
nice.
discounts for like a hotel and a spa. I was like, "Hey, I just got these coupons. Like, do you want to like go there?" So he was like, yeah, sure." So we just like got on a bus the next day and just like effed off to like Nepal. And like luckily Nepal like is like Pokhara, like the place I went to, which is like a few hours from Kathmandu, is just like 12 hours on a bus from like where I live. So we just hopped on
Huh?
a bus and we came here. And the reason I was like so like okay coming to Pokhara was because Pokhara is also like an Esoterica capital. Like there are a lot of like cave
Oh,
temples here. So I was like, okay, like let's just go there. So yeah, I just like happened to come here because like something just called me here and I was like, okay, like let's get on like a bus and like go.
I love that. Have you like did you find anything yet? I mean, I'm up like you were mentioning like how like you were like in need of like finding something because of how you were feeling, and like it's a hermetic principle that when you like transform inside, the outside transforms, right? So like, have you
Yeah.
been finding things inside you throughout
Yeah.
this trip?
Yeah. So so
Yeah.
so I feel like I don't know if it's the case with me or like a lot of people, but sometimes I just have this switch. So I have this work mode where I'm just like creating and working and I'm like completely locked in. And then there's this mode where something just tells me to switch it off and just go with the flow.
Uh-huh.
And like the minute I stepped into Nepal, I was in the workation mode. I'm like, I have some work to do, I have some meetings to do, like this and that and whatever. And then the minute I stepped in here, it just switched off. Something just told me to switch it off. And then and then and then like I looked out of my balcony in the hotel and there was like a Nepali wedding happening and they were playing the sarangi, like there's like this bow type of like horn out there. And I don't know, I just like got lost in there. And I think I was also like really tired from the bus trip. So like that whole experience just made me feel so present. And like they just made me like reminded me like why I'm here in the first place. I'm just here to feel present again. Like it's not about esoterica or like finding God or anything. Like it's just about finding myself. Like I just want to feel present. So yeah, it was like it was just like like the best like starter.
I love that. I actually got some goosebumps, I think they are called, because
Yeah.
what you're mentioning about being present, deeply resonates with me. Because nothing deeply resonates with me. I do think that part of the depending on like what's the magical tradition that you practice and stuff, but like creating your higher self or your astral body, I think it's
Yeah.
the same thing as being present, right? Like as if you
Wow.
are present and if you build that, you kind of like I don't know, like you're more of yourself, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
it's so cool, so cool to hear. So, but you were mentioning that your family, like, it's not really like from the like esoteric kind of vibe in India, but more like tech business oriented, something like that. So, like, tell me a bit about like your family and like how did you like. So India is like one of the most like philosophical, mystical, and esoteric traditions in the history of the universe, probably. So, like, how did you like connect with that esoteric tradition if your family wasn't really into that? Like, did it came to you naturally? Like, tell me about that.
So there are two parts of my family. So where my dad is from, and where I mostly like grew up and studied, like that part of the world is like very educated, very technical. I'm from Kerala, so most of the people here actually migrated to Dubai and Sri Lanka and built the tech infrastructure there. So it's really like the tech people of India, like my dad's
Ah,
side of the family. But my mom's side, it's it's all like very esoteric people from the hills of Nepal and Sikkim, and like that side of the world. So I spent like until high school like over here in like this part of India. And I don't know if it was because like medical help was not readily before you went to a doctor, like you were taken to a witch doctor to like be diagnosed for anything that was wrong with you. And if it was like mild symptoms like fever or like allergy or something, they just treated you with the herbs. And only if it was something critical, they actually like sent you to the doctor. So I was treated like that as a kid. Like most of my teeth, like when I had milk teeth, when it had to be replaced, like it had been taken out, I was
yep.
taken to a doctor. Like she just like pulled my teeth out with like some like, yeah, exactly.
Just like that.
So, yeah, so like I grew up watching a lot of that as a kid, and I think that's what influenced a lot of my art style and like my expression, side. And like I think my calling towards esoterica, but my dad's side of the family was like very logical, and because I was also good in academics and everything, I really thought like esoterica was bullshit until I got called to it like later in life.
Ah.
So
So
yeah,
like
so like
growing
my
up,
mom
you thought growing up you thought it was bullshit. Even
completely.
having your mom and all that part of the family like deep into that, you
Yeah.
still thought it was bullshit.
Yeah, I participated in everything they did because like I didn't want to offend them, and I was like growing up there and the culture there was like a little strict. So I did not want to offend anybody. So like I played along, but I didn't believe in like jack shit. But I think like after college and like a few things happened in my life because of which I got drawn back into that life, and I found a lot of answers to that. Until then I really thought it was like complete bullshit. I was like it doesn't make any sense, there's no logic behind it, like why should I believe in this because I'm like a person of science or something like that.
and
Yeah.
like now you are like connected to that. So like, do you now think there's a logic to that, or there's no logic to me to like esotericism and occultism?
So I
Is
had
there
a
any
journey.
logic to it?
Yeah, so I had a journey. So when I was in college, there was this time when like I was doing really well, like academically. I even had like a side hustle while in college and everything. So technically, for a
Huh?
college kid, I was doing really well. But I was so depressed. I wanted to kill myself. Like every core in my body wanted me to kill myself. And genuinely, there was no reason to do that because I had like a great like life. I had like a good friend circle. Like everything was going great. Like, but I just like something in me like just didn't feel right. So around that time, I quit college. Like something in me just told me to like quit engineering college in my final year of like education. Even though I had like good grades and everything, I just left everything behind and I quit everything and I backpacked for an entire year. And that year
Nice.
I was like, if I want to kill myself anyway, I might as well like go with a bang. I'm gonna travel everywhere. I have a money, I have like a side hustle that pays me enough to like go on all these trips. So I traveled to Bhutan, I traveled to Nepal, I traveled to like parts of like northern India, and I tripped on stuff, on life, on like substances, and I was really trying to like talk to myself in a way. Like I was just trying to find answers. Like, why do I want to kill myself? Like, what is wrong? Like, what's missing? What am I always seek? And then that time I realized like one, I was not living my calling. And because I was not being true to the path that life had set for me, I was in so much pain, you know. And I did not know in that moment what that path was for me, but I just knew that the path I was on was just not for me and I need to let go of that. And that is why I was in so much pain. Like the pain is just going to go away the minute I let go of that. And the second thing I realized is that no matter what path I take, no matter how afraid I am in this moment, because I quit college, I left home, I left everything, you know, and I just like
Yeah.
left with like a
A lot of
backpack.
bravery, right? Like
Yeah, like
courageous. Yeah.
exactly. I think there was also like a slight like tinge of privilege there, you know, like because in India,
Mhm.
like I'm a good family and everything. So it was also that, but like so I left and I didn't know anything, and there was like a lot of fear, and the fear just went away over time when I realized that it's gonna be okay. Like something inside me, like I don't know, something just spoke to me and just told me that I'm gonna be okay. I just have to like do what I think is right. And like a lot of things went wrong along the way, you know. Like I did a lot of like mistakes, like a lot of things went wrong. I got mugged like once, you know, like it
Damn.
was crazy. But something inside me still told me like things are gonna be okay, and I just went for that. And I think like right now I'm in life where I feel like I'm closer to my calling than I've ever been, and I'm on the right journey, you know, because I started then. So yeah, so I think like that's where my calling to Esoterica comes from. So every time I feel lost, like I feel like I'm straying away from the path, I just like turn inwards and go like, hey, what do I need to do? And something just comes up, like this Nepal trip.
Love that. So like, what is your calling?
Um,
Can you
I
define it
think
with words?
I think it's a little hard. Like I think there's nothing like very concrete, but I think like at the moment my path is like one of self-discovery. Like the more authentic I am with myself, the more I understand myself, I can create art, I can create work that is more real. And 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 earlier I thought like what does that even mean? Like everybody's real. Nobody's like faking it. Everybody's like making art because like they put like 10,000 hours of work and
I don't
whatever
know.
into it. Yeah. But like I also realized like right now everything is so fabricated and artificial and everybody's just trying to be something and whatever, that you are really missing that inner voice. You know, like where I come from in India, people say that when an artist makes a piece of art, it comes from above, you know. And I
Yeah.
believe that because like a lot of pieces that I make like really come from above. Like somebody tells me like, what am I making, and I just make it, and I'm like, oh fuck, so cool. You know.
Do you
So
like, do you listen it in your head, or like do you actually like how does it work, or do you
so
just like channel it, or how does it work? So
so I
Coven
think
Classics,
like,
maybe
there's a
you
lot
can
of
tell me about.
friction
Go ahead.
initially. Like there's a lot of
Hmm.
friction initially. Like I have to like really like discipline myself and like put in the first few minutes of work.
Uh
But
huh.
like once I'm in that flow state, like it's really just somebody else talking through me, you know. Like I wouldn't say like it's God or something like that. It's really like a higher self version of me talking through like the lower self version of me. But then it's easier to tap into that when I'm just like there.
That's very cool. The higher
Yeah.
self. Um, Very cool. Does it like, can you connect with your higher self whenever you want, or is it like harder sometimes, or like are there things like traveling, which I think makes you more present, right? Because like you're seeing all these new things. Like, do those things make it easier for you to connect with your higher self, or can you just tap into that whenever you want? How does it work for you?
You know, so when I first started making art, like this is distortion principle. Like when you are making a piece of art, you zoom in so much sometimes that you like get lost in the details, that you can't see the whole picture. So even if making like an ugly ass piece of shit, like because you're in the details, and if the details look good, you can't see it, because you're so zoomed in. So as an artist, like it's your job to zoom in and zoom out and zoom in and zoom out and know when to zoom in and when to zoom out, right? And you don't have that understanding when you're like so lost in the now, like, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, like, when I'm making something, like I don't know, like when I'm more present, I just know when to zoom out, right? So I zoom out, like something or the other just tells me, like, like, hey, this is how you zoom out, like go out on like a walk with a friend, or I know, go on a trip or something. And then there are also times when something tells me to zoom in, like for example, like there was this Bera Baddies like airdrop coming in, and I was
Yep.
literally on this like Nepal trip, and something told me like look at the airdrop, and I was like, what Bera? What does Bera even do? Like fuck it, like it's okay. But I did look in, and then I did cash out at the right time. you know?
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
very powerful. So you were
yeah,
like in your trip, like you were not connected to crypto, blah blah blah, blah, and a voice comes and says like, "Go ahead and
yeah.
check that airdrop."
It's not more like a voice. It's more like I'm in and I'm not able to disconnect because something's telling me like, hey, I still have some work to do. You're not done yet. And I'm like, no, I finished everything. I answered all my emails. I did all my work. I'm done. And they're like, no, 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 you're not. It's like stay locked in. And then sometimes when I'm trying to do something so hard, I'm putting in all my effort and it's just not happening. And like it's like telling me like, hey girl, you're out of all the juice, you just like need to like go juice up somewhere, like get out, like go juice up and come back. So yeah, like there's more of that. And I think like people have their own like limiters in their own way, but like for me, because I don't have those because of my neurodivergency and like a bunch of things, I think
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know, like in some way, esoteric and spirituality has just become that for me.
That's very cool. You also mentioned like during that, like when you left high school and you were traveling around India for that year, that you mentioned like plants, like and experiences with I think plants, or I don't know if you said plants, but I'm assuming there were plants. Like, can you tell me about like any of those experiences? Like, what do you like? What are those like? What do you take in India? Like mushrooms, or is it like soma? Like, what? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah,
Uh,
so first of all, like um in India, there are a lot of places that are called Shakti Peeths, which are just energy centers, right? And a lot of them are up in the Himalayas. So I went on a bunch of treks when I was in college, because my friends were like going on these treks, which are like low cost. They're like, hey, you want to go on a trek with us? Go to this mountain and do some stuff. I was like, hey. So I went there. And because I was, I think, actively seeking meaning in life, I sort of like connected with the energy there. Um, and there are places in like India, especially up in the Himalayas, where you do feel that presence more than the others. That's why there are a lot of sages and sadhus who actually go at these places and meditate for like months and years and stuff at an end, because there is some sort of energy that you connect with. So one is that, like, I remember there's this place somewhere in Himachal Pradesh in India where I went and stayed there for, I was only planning to stay there for a week, and I went there, and there was this just one day. I was with a friend, and we were drinking alcohol in the snow outside. It was 4 degrees. I was in, and it was like 21 degrees in the day. So I was just
mhm.
like in a tank top and shorts, and I was trekking all day. So when we sat there, we sat like in the afternoon when it was still like warmish. But then we ended up sitting till like 3 a.m. Didn't realize it. And it like dropped to like -4 degree. I was not cold. I was fine. And
Wow.
and I don't know, I just like felt some sort of download that day. And I felt like some experiences on those days. I could not fully comprehend it, but that gave me enough to, like I told you, I was like on a mission to kill myself,
Yeah.
those few months. So that just gave me enough fuel to understand like life is not meaningless and I should keep going. And like it just kept me going. So
So
yeah. So like that was
you
the first thing that I experienced.
really like that. So were you like so you were gonna take your life during that trip, and then like while you were doing it, you started having these realizations, and that's when it changed.
Yeah, I really thought, like, when I dropped out of college, I really wanted to kill myself in college. So I was like, okay, I have like this much of money saved up, and I don't really have any plans, so I might just like go on a few trips, and if I find some pretty place, I'll just off myself. Like, that was the plan. Like, there was
Right
no like
there.
concrete plan. Like, that was like, I'll just kill myself. Like, I'll just like go dive into a lake, or like go into a waterfall, or like, I don't know, like drive off a cliff, some shit, you know, or like
Yeah.
get high enough or like off myself, but I don't want to live anymore, so I'm just gonna like go. So yeah, like, and it was 1 year, and after 1 year, I did not want to kill myself again. I felt my first sense of purpose.
I love that. And
Yeah,
it deeply resonates with me because like I thought about like killing myself multiple times throughout my life when I was younger. So
yeah,
so I deeply resonate with that yeah, with that feeling, that experience. It's I don't know what you think, but a lot of times like a lot of like the most sensitive minds and souls like tend to like want to disappear, right? And
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
why do you think that's the
Because the
case?
world is just so hard for people like you and me. Because I feel like when you're somebody cruel, you can first of all accept the cruelty in the world and to like adjust yourself to be that person. But when you're somebody like who A can't accept that and two can't be that, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just so hard. Like, and that was like what made me want to kill myself. It was not because I was a shitty person. It was because everything was so shit around me. I didn't know how to be, right?
I don't know how to be. That's also like resonates a lot. I've been reading this guy called Mark Fisher. He's like this kind of like philosopher, but like contemporary philosopher, and he was a lot into like music culture stuff like that. And I believe he's the one who said that. I'm not sure if it was him, but basically, this guy I read him or Eric Davis. I'm not sure. They said that there are different kinds of like humans and societies in the history of the world, and there are certain humans who have a collaborative approach, and there are other humans who have a domination approach.
Right.
So like the world in which we live has made us think that the domination approach is the only one, right? And
Yeah,
it's the real one, and it's like that's just how it is.
that's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah, the
It's not
collaborative
true.
ones are actually more sustainable. And you know something, like on that trip when I was backpacking for an entire year, like I backpacked through like northern parts of India, Nepal, Bhutan, and these were all the places that are they have capitalism but a very different form of it. So
How is it?
like let me give you an example, right? So the first place that inspired me was this place called Malana. It's one of the oldest democracies in the world. Like Alexander the Great, like when he came to India, he invaded, he died
Wow.
on the way. Like, he got really sick on the way, but his army like settled down there. So that's like one place in India where weed is legal and people like look different. They have their own esoteric religion. They don't let people touch their temples and their people. Like, there are a lot of rules there, right? So I went there, and now like I try to figure out like how are people living there, how are people making a living, like because the government doesn't like them, but they're like really well off, you know, even without like
Mhm.
any support. So one is like they have this whole cannabis farming situation going on, which is funded by like people from all over the world. But
Oh,
also the other thing that they have really going on for them is like they really believe that the god out there has given them the sacred purpose to protect the sanctity of the temple, not let like outsiders touch it, and like all these rules like keep them alive, and the god will protect them. And somehow like there was this one time when the government like burnt all their wheat crops and like their entire like agriculture, and somehow they still made revenue that year because there was this other part of like land which turned out to give them more crop like than usual. I don't know, like some crazy shit.
wow.
So because of that, like they celebrated like a bigger festival that year to thank God, because they really thought that like God is after them. I don't know, like the place just works like really differently. I lived there for like 2 3 months, and I didn't have a lot of money when I was there. and they have like their own rules, like they don't let outsiders in. Like the cafe I was staying in was run by this female who had to literally fight for her life to keep her
No,
business alive. So she told me, like, when she first moved there, like people there are like a little like tribal, so they were like, an outsider can't have a business here. So the minute this woman steps out, who's going to rape her? Like, and they were like putting up auctions on her. So this woman comes out with a
who's gonna
knife.
rape her?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
said,
And they were like
wow,
auctioning. Yeah, and they were auctioning. They were like, I'm gonna pay $1,000 to rape her. And like somebody was like, and she comes out with like
fuck,
this knife, and she was like the first person to touch me gets stabbed. Like, I dare you.
fucking
And like,
kill you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and those guys like got so scared, and she's like the only outsider out there to have a business there. And I stayed at her place, and she told me the story, and she told me about the place. She got me like some insider view of the place, and I know it was just like crazy to like to understand, like there's America, there is crypto, there is everything, and there is also this part of the world, and they all
Right.
coexist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like, well, since you mentioned crypto, like maybe we can talk a little about crypto.
yeah,
Like has your so you're like you're a creator because like you're like the founder of Coven Classics, which is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like an editorial. Basically, you publish like comic books. Like, to
yeah.
actually tell me what is Coven Classics?
Absolutely. So to like celebrate my love for esoterica and illustration and art, I wanted to create a comic series called Coven Classics, which is just inspired by stories from Nepal, Sikkim, around India, and and like blend Eastern esoterica with some of like Western esoteric practices, and create stories out of that. And Coven Classics is just an attempt at that. So the idea is to create like a comic series, like comic book every now and then, and put it out in the world, and like have people like read it, and have them like completely hand illustrated to sort of like enjoy the journey of creating them, learn more through it as well, and like just like have fun making it, and also like give something like unique to people. Because if you've minted the first comic, you'll see like the art style is completely unique, the storytelling style is like really like different. It's like a mix of like anime plus Disney like animation plus something else. So yeah, so the idea is like just like have fun with the comics, and give something to people that's collectible, and a piece of like me and my life experience.
I really like it. Practical Magic is the first one.
Yeah, yeah,
uh I really like you're mentioning the Western references, and I saw there was like a Crowley and Alistair Crowley,
yeah,
for whoever doesn't
yeah.
know on the other
And
end.
the story is kind of based in like New Orleans.
What New Orleans? What?
Yeah, the story is kind of based in like Salem and New Orleans.
Ah, that's why. That's why. I really like it. One of the things I like, I mean, I like a lot of things that like basically it's like a fun way. I don't know, fun way, but it's a way to introduce people to magic, right? And to introduce people to like yeah, esoteric traditions and what magic
Yeah,
can do for the self, right? And for the mind. And as well, actually, like before we dive a little into practical magic, I want to ask you a couple of questions. But how would you define magic yourself? How do you define it?
right. So I've been practicing it for like a few years now, like around like 10, 15 years, I guess. And my journey into magic has been like pretty interesting, because I came from Indian esoterica into, like more of the Western, like Crowley, Gardner, practices of esoterica. So the thing is, right, in Indian esoterica, there are a lot of rules. There are a lot of gods, and there are a lot of planets, and there's a lot of pleasing people, and there's a lot of like just rules out there. But it's very comprehensive. Like the literature is very comprehensive. Like Indian astrology is like very, very comprehensive. Like your planetary charts, your day charts, like everything is very comprehensive. However, the interpretation is very, very rigid because of all the rules that they've made, right? So
Hmm.
like Indian esoterica never really appealed to me personally, because it never made sense to me. It didn't like I could not relate to it that much, because it's just so rigid. Like I'll give an example, right? Especially like because of the societal structures and everything. me being the kind of like rebellious, like not fitting into East Indian society kind of women I am, like
Uh-huh.
I'm straight up like labeled in a lot of Indian esoteric practices as somebody who's like just bad, you know, who's
Uh-huh.
like straight up bad, like who's just like not gonna be accepted by anyone, who's gonna have a hard time in life just because of the way I am. So the only way for me to exist to like just to change my entire existence, like I just don't accept that. I'm like, I will just move to a different country. Like, what the fuck? Instead of
Fuck
like
that,
going to
yeah.
exactly, right? Because like I have seen the world and I understand that, hey, like just because I don't fit into Indian society does not mean like I am just like not acceptable as a person. I can just like change my country and I'm gonna be fine, you know. So Indian esoterica didn't give me a lot of answers, but it gave me a lot of like understanding about like, how the whole thing actually works, how energy system works. But Western philosophy actually helped me piece it together in a more personal sense. I feel like Western um like esoterica, even paganism, is more introspective rather than like looking at the planets and the sun and all those things, right? It's more about how do you relate it to your own like chakras and biosystems and everything. So I feel like piecing those two helped me sort of figure out like my own like rituals and practices. Like for example, like in Indian esoterica, even though there is this concept of a higher self, right? You still worship your higher self like in like a third being, like a god, right?
Mm,
As if it's detached from you. And I don't
right.
I don't I don't feel like that, because if I am creating art from like a place of a third being, I can't tap into it as a third being. Like I feel more
Yeah.
comfortable tapping it into as something like that's an extension of myself, right? So I don't know, like I'm sorry if I'm like diving a little too deep,
No,
but
no, not at all. Like, I love it. Yeah.
yeah.
Don't be
So
sorry.
I feel like, like merging both those practices helped me um come to terms with like what are my practices and what things do I like. So I do practice a lot of like Indian esoteric practices like tantra and like going to temples and going to energy centers and doing the whole jazz. I really believe in them. But at the same time, if it comes to solitary practice, I would still practice like Western like traditions, like having my own altar that is set up to like my needs, like the gods I want to worship to and the gods who cater to like like things that I am more inclined towards. And having like a ritual that's more catered to me and just like more personalization on that end. So yeah, like I don't know, I'm like just like blending both of them to like fit my own needs. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but yeah, like that's how it's been.
Like, what gods do you like? Do you like, I don't know, like Babylon, for example, or like Hecate, or like, what are some of the gods that you work with, like from the
I
Western
think I
esoteric
still work
tradition?
with Indian gods. So there is this goddess called Kamakhya Devi. She is so like I told you about the concept of like energy centers in India, right? So all these
Like the
energy
chakras, you
centers.
mean?
So in India you have 51 or 52 Shakti Peeths, where there are like all these like important temples of India, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
all these
Mhm.
places have these stories, why they are energy centers, like about story of an origin of a god, or something or the other, like some story there. So one of these Shakti Peeth is called Kamakhya, and they say the stories, like if you've heard of the Lord Shiva, like
Yeah,
one
of
of the
course.
most, yeah. So Shiva's wife Parvati, when she like immolated herself, when she killed herself, her yoni, her vagina, fell at this place. So there is a temple that's shaped like a vagina, and it's called the Temple of the Beating Goddess, and that's the only temple in India where you serve alcohol and meat. So I went to this
Oh,
temple in 2022 and then 2023 because I was looking for inspiration. I don't know, I just really connect to that temple because it's like very, very tantric. It's like one of the dark energy temples. Even the
I
practices
like
that are like very dark, like they
I
sacrifice
like
like
that.
goat and like meat out there, and like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
like
yeah.
bathe the goddess in blood and stuff. So like that doesn't happen in a lot of temples in India. Like most temples in India are, like pretty mild. That's just like hardcore, like very heavy metal. So it's a goddess temple and everybody's afraid of that goddess. And I don't know, like after I came back from that temple,
Her
like I went
her
there
name
now.
is Parvati. You said?
So yeah, his wife is called Parvati. But when
Her
she died
why?
and she killed herself, she turned into a different being. That's called
Gotcha.
Kamakya. And the temple is called
Gotcha.
Kamakya, the Devi temple. Yeah, her like vagina fell off there, and the temple is shaped like that. So that's one of my favorite temples, and I think like that's a goddess. I feel like a very very strong calling too, because she's about beauty and she's about grace and she's about seduction and she's about all of that, but she's also about destruction. You know? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and
So she's all
destruction is like such a powerful force for
yeah,
transformation, right?
absolutely. And I feel like with a lot of females, especially I consider myself like a slightly rebellious character, like
Uh
very
huh.
rebellious character. So I feel like that goddess is also somebody who was like really ahead of her time, and the society tried to shun her. But instead of conforming to something that society would like, she turned into a demon. Because she was like, "Fuck you," you know.
I'm
So
a demon now. Yeah,
yeah, so I don't know. I really like vibe with that.
I really like that. So, like one thing I really like that, like you mentioned, you're rebellious. Like, you're like a like I don't know. It's not an outsider, but like you're different from like a lot of people in India and your culture, and you felt like you were like not really fitting. So, like one thing I really liked about the practical magic, which is issue number 1, if I'm not mistaken, of Coven Classics. So it's a
Yeah.
great story about like two women friends who like I don't want to say become witches because maybe they discover they are witches, right? I don't know if you
Always been
become,
rich.
yeah, and they are like one thing I really liked about them is that they are like really badass and really like hot too, right?
Yeah.
They are like hot, really hot badass witches, and not that like I don't know, like they are not nerds, or they are like. Tell me about like how you chose to like create them like that, like hot badass witches.
Right. So one of the main inspirations behind practical magic was this movie. Have you watched The Craft?
The crafts, I don't
It's like
know.
a 1997, like very Y2K kind of movie. So it's about these four witches who discover like their witchy powers, and it's like a little dark. It was really dark for its time. And my inspiration to was like to make this high school witch story about these girls who discover their powers and go through the journey of like realizing, oh fuck, I'm this powerful, I can like actually kill somebody, and go through the journey of like controlling their power by actually doing like some bad shit.
Uh-huh.
Because like that's just how it happens, like if you suddenly come across that kind of privilege and power, you are going to hurt somebody along the way, and that's just how your journey is going to be. And
Yeah.
yeah. So the journey of the witches is just like that. And so that was like the premise that I thought of, but since it's a comic book, I also wanted to make it really visual and very high schooly, and have all these like really girly elements. Like there is this whole segment where these girls are just sitting in their bedroom and just like they discover this magic, like book of like magic, book of shadows, and which belongs to like one of the family members, and they're just like trying to try different spells. And because they are like these little teenage girls, they're a little vain. So one of them just tries to change their color, one of them just tries to get popular in high school without really realizing that this has like actual actual effect on people in real life, like very like harmlessly. And then they realize the consequences of the magic and learn things the hard way. So it's like really the journey of that, about self-discovery through magic and like through just having things that other people like don't have.
Yeah. It's it's amazing to me like as I get deeper and deeper into magic, so like I always had this like kind of magical mind or approach to reality, but I started practicing more actively like 2 3 years ago. And as I go deeper, it's like it always amazes me how like magic works,
Yeah.
how magic is real, and
Yeah.
how it actually transforms reality and yourself, right? Like you transform inside, you transform the outside universe too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
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 absolutely. So, like, I think you phrased it correctly. Like, even in this story, the girls start off with like just knowing they have witch powers, but they don't actually work enough for them to do anything about it. And then at the end, they are these super forces that are like tackling and fighting with one of the most powerful witches of their time, and the journey happens as they realize the power within themselves, learning to tap into it, like just self-actualization, experimenting, like messing up, and just becoming like more responsible, like adults with powers. Yeah.
Responsible, yeah. And what you were saying about like you can hurt people, like if you are like just like randomly doing magic like that,
Yeah.
like it can really get out of fucking control like
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, like I feel like, like most witch books really teach you about being bitter. That's why like a
Hmm.
lot of like good like witchcraft practice books have things about not being bitter, about meditation, about being grounded. And because I think like the moment you're bitter, you can also put out like a lot of bad energy into the world and you just don't realize it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's I think it's also like our, so as you like become more like deep into like you go deeper into this practices, like you actually, I don't know if like if you feel like that, but have you like in your experience, have you sometimes realized that you are actually uh, doing magic without knowing it, because your psychic energy has become so strong that even just by thinking about something, you just like transform it, and then you find out and it's like, oh wow. Like, have you had that experience?
I think I have become a little responsible with my thoughts because I have realized, somewhere when I was like younger itself, that sometimes when I really, really want something to happen, it sometimes does happen in the wrong ways. And if it does happen, even if it's not my fault, I am going to feel responsible for it because I'm just like Delulu like that. Uh, so it's yeah, like I think like a lot of my journey is really just to bit like keep myself away from bitterness and like I don't know, not thinking badly about anyone. Like I do feel like I'm a piece of shit sometimes, but I don't let that pour into other people because sometimes I have seen that, like I don't know, like even if I just like think badly about somebody, something happens to them, and even if nothing happens to them, I end up feeling bad, like it just like
Yeah,
brings some bad karma to me in some way, so I just like avoid that.
yeah. uh deep stuff. So let's move away a little bit from, I mean, everything is magic, right? But like tell me about brunette. So we've covered Coven Classics, we covered like practical magic, we covered like your spiritual esoteric path throughout your life. So like brunette is like a meme coin that did you launch? I'm part of that community, by the way,
Yeah.
as well. But did you? Were you the one who launched it? Like, tell me
Yeah,
a
I
bit about
created
like
the
brunette.
coin.
You
Yeah, I
created the
created
coin,
the coin.
so tell me about it.
Absolutely. So I'm extremely locked in, in the Web3 space, if you have noticed. I'm like really, really locked in, and especially the past few months, I've been really locked in. So when Blonde launched, I was a part of like their community and everything. So they were just discussing in the Telegram group, like, hey, is there a brunette token? Has anybody launched brunette yet? So I just like sneakily went on to Farcaster, and I have like a small following on Farcaster. So I just like quietly launched this coin called brunette, and I didn't even tell anyone about it because I was like, what's gonna happen? Are the people gonna find out that I launched brunette? So people in the blog were like, oh my god, somebody launched brunette. Oh my god, it's a thing now. And somebody else was like, hey, somebody from like the community here launched it. I was like, hey, like it's me, I launched it. So people from the blonde community itself like were the first buyers into brunette. And it sort of proliferated from there. Like we were always like blonde and brunette, not blonde versus brunette. So that was the origin story. But also the other part of it was, I think, because we launched on Clanker, and Clanker is a Farcastrian based native protocol. Clanker's like interface also has these stats which are linked to your Farcaster reach, like like how many followers you have, like what's your social score, all these things, right? So I think that itself also like gave us a little bit of push. Like they were like, hey, there's this person with like 7K followers on Farcaster who launched a coin, we should ape into this, who's also a creator. So that also brought in some momentum. So suddenly like brunette was a thing, and I was like, hey, brunette is a thing, so what do we do with it now? So I reached out to some of my other creator friends that I knew from Farcaster and Lens, who have been creating with me and have been chipping away at things with like not like significant, like, like output. So I was like, hey, you want to do this brunette thing with me? They're like, sure. So we came in together, and like we sort of like grew the community. Initially we had not bought in much because we didn't actually have like a lot of money when brunette launched. We didn't know what we were doing, so we had like $30-50 of brunette. But because Clanker keeps like 40% of swap fees as like a part of LP, we got like a good percentage of brunette tokens and ETH from them as a payout. So yeah,
Nice.
we used that to create an LP. We did not dump any of the brunette tokens. We kept growing the community. So like, yeah, like I think that's why like the jig is still up. Like people still like believe in us. We created like integrations within Farcaster and Lens so that creators can pay each other in brunette. There's also a Zora integration where you can mint an artwork using the brunette coin tag. So we're just finding creator use cases at the moment. We also have a product play, like me and my partner, we have been working on a small product integration that where you can use brunette coins to do some things.
Oh,
We have some brunette NFT collections. We have like brunette of the month, but the idea is like just to, like I said, like I am a creator who's been chipping away at this Web3 thing without a significant output for a long time, and I found some other creators like me who had similar pain points. So we just came together to first figure out like how we can fix this for ourselves, like give ourselves like better reach with our content and the work that we do, and also to like amplify other people through this thing. And that's where like all the other things have like come out of um yeah. And right now we're also creating a lot of video content. We haven't started posting it yet because the
I was
market is.
wondering, like, I didn't see the NFT collection. All that stuff is new, right? Or
Oh
is it
yeah, we
already
do. We
live
do
and I
have
missed it?
this brunette of the month thing going on. There is a coin
Uh-huh.
tag on Zora. So if you mint any NFT on Zora, you can just use
Hmm.
the coin tag brunette, and it will just show up under that header.
Oh,
And
cool.
someone from the brunette community will also collect it. Also, the other thing is like I think you've posted like a proof of brunette selfie, right? So there's also this
Yeah.
other thing, like since we are all like creators on Farcaster and X with like significant reach, when somebody posts like a brunette selfie versus like a regular selfie, they tend to get about 3x reach. So that's also something we do. But the idea is like to just like amplify other creators, to like help each other out, mint each other's NFT collections, create integrations that help each other like make money. Right now we have like a product that we're creating that I can't tell much about because like, it's still in nascent stage. But that's happening.
But
We
is
also
the
have
product like related to brunette as well, or is it
yeah,
something?
something that
Yeah.
you will use using brunette tokens. See, the thing is like I don't feel comfortable as a creator going to people and going like, hey, buy my token, because it's not value additive for them or me, because I
Yeah.
don't directly benefit from them buying a token. Like if you buy $100 of brunette, I'm not getting $100 of brunette. Sorry, like
Yeah.
of anything, right? Like I'm probably getting like $1 of that. So it doesn't make that much sense to me. I don't want you to lose money either. So what makes sense for me is like if you're using this brunette token to get value somewhere else, like through an NFT collection or through a product that you're using that adds value to you, that gives you $100 worth of value or something like that, right? So the idea is to like create a meme coin. Like one, we have not dumped, like if you've noticed, and that's because like we've been doing a few things,
Yeah.
that make sure that like people at least like first of all don't lose their money, because that was like a huge priority for all of us on the team, like because we don't want to lose money either, and we don't want anybody losing money. And the second thing is like with this product integrations and NFT and integrations within Farcaster that help you use your brunette token, we don't have to go around asking people to actually buy brunette token. You will just have a use case where you will get that much value for having that much brunette token. So I think that just makes more sense for us.
Love that. Like, and what are some of the? I mean, what things do you like about meme coins, and what things do you think are more challenging about meme
Yeah.
coins? Like, what do
So,
you think?
so I think like let me start with the good stuff. So the reason like when we started brunette, like none of us actually wanted to get into the meme coin economy. Like we didn't even think the coin would take off. Like I didn't tell anyone about it when I launched it. It just like happened, right? Is because like meme coins are inherently a little PvP in nature. Like somebody has to lose money for somebody on the top to make money, right? Like that's just how the economy works, and it just feels a little predatory. in my opinion. But at the same time, I feel like if you look at meme coins like NFTs with a smaller like entry point, if they
Mhm.
don't dump that much, if you're not like significantly losing money, like if your $1,000 is not becoming $200, right? If it's somewhere still in that range, it's giving you like a lower entry point into a community. You can use that to still token gate stuff like you would with an NFT, and you can build a good community. And there's more vibe because there's still more liquidity with a meme coin than with an NFT, right? Like I can sell like a brunette token any day rather than like a brunette NFT, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there are still all these things which make me see a meme coin sort of like a better NFT. But there's also these aspects of it being PvP in nature, about like the pump and dump. Like there's nothing we can do if somebody suddenly comes and pumps at a collection, right? Like we can't
Yeah.
stop people from losing the money. Like we will have to be really, really smart in creating LPs or something like that, or like I don't know, holding like a huge like part of the supply in order for that not happen. Like a lot of things are still not in our control. So there are all these factors still there. But I don't know. We're still trying, and honestly we're actually learning from the others as well, because I feel like this cycle we're also seeing like the worst of the meme coins, but we're also seeing the best of meme coins, like there's both.
Yeah.
Like you just need to know where to look.
Yeah. So what is some of the the best in meme coins that you
The
like?
best,
Yeah,
I
the
actually
best.
like Bitcoin. I genuinely like Brett. Like I have been a Brett holder since 2023.
Oh
um
wow.
yeah, like I
Breadcoin. I'm not familiar with Breadcoin.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
Brett
check
is
it
like
out.
a soul coin by this um MMA fighter guy called Brett, and
Uh-huh.
and they have this like PFP of this drunken bear. So I got on this Twitter space one day, and everybody was
Oh,
talking about
bread,
like,
bread, the base meme. Oh yeah.
there's a soul one as well. That's the OG one
Yeah.
actually.
Ah,
Yeah,
cool.
so I went on the Twitter space and the bear started flirting with me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then like I saw a lot of my friends in the space and we started chatting, and I really like vibed with them, and like it just made sense to me that a lot of creators who like feel left out by the space came together and built a coin, caballed the shit out of it, and are like thriving off it. Like, why not? This is why I'm in the space. So I don't know,
Yeah.
like that's why I loved Brett. And to me, that's like one of the good meme points, because everyone who's a part of the community is actually like doing well. So there are a few of those. I also feel like Degen, even though it's not a meme coin, is actually like a good coin that came out of base, because mm,
Yeah.
I have been paid by Degen a lot of months. Like it's paid my bills a lot of months, and it's done the same for a lot of artists and creators and forecasters. So I feel like Degen, even with its flaws, has done like a lot of good in the space. So there are a lot of coins like that, which have knowingly, unknowingly brought a lot of goodwill into the space. So, and it's been hard this cycle. So I really appreciate anybody who's doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love Degen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can criticize it, or like people can criticize it, but like what they did, like I remember it, like when it was like
Yeah.
popping
And
in
it's been so hard.
Farcaster,
Like
amazing.
with forecaster rules and everything, they still gave out like significant grants to people, and like they did their bit. Like they really worked hard. So I really respect them for that.
Yeah, and like as far as I know, like maybe I'm mistaken, but like they kind of like they invented data. So that so we were talking about like societies that tend to collaboration and societies that tend to domination. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, you also see that in crypto, right? So because you have all the
Yeah.
community aspects, blah blah blah, but then you have like the PvP, the racks, like all of that. Uh, but Degen with that approach of like you have this money, but you cannot keep it. You need to give it out to others. I
Yeah,
think
exactly. The
that's
allowance
so
that is
powerful.
crazy. Exactly. And the thing is, right, like they have, like, even though they've not been very successful, probably because some of the top degen holders themselves are also farmers. They can't really remove all the farmers. Like that's the biggest problem I think with degen. But they've still been like like they've been trying really hard,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fix all these problems. And I don't know, I really respect them for like at least like genuinely trying.
Yeah, me too, me too. I
Yeah.
really like Degen. So like we're already at like at the top of the hour, so there are like one, two more questions that I wanted to ask you. You were talking about the cycle being challenging, which I agree with. So like I wanted to ask you like you and I have been talking about this in private. Like, what do you think about the influence of Pluto in Aquarius? If you can tell us a little bit about like why is that important and what does that mean, and what do you think will be the influence like in 2025 Pluto in Aquarius, which
Right.
entered in November, right?
Yeah. So I think first of all, like the thing with like Pluto and Aquarius, and Aquarius itself is a sign about community and art and like innovation and free thinking and all of that, right? And we entered the age of Aquarius in 2021. We've seen a shift in how the world works in 2021. And I think and that comes with like both good and bad. For like there to be significant change in the world, there also needs to be some kind of significant discomfort in the world. In 2021, the rich people got richer than everybody else, and the poor people got poorer. Like creatives had it the hardest, since 2021. And that kind of cycle has carried on even now. um and I've been also like following other astrologers who talk about like Pluto and Aquarius being a shift where people who are creatives, who have been chipping away at building the community, and all of them like coming on top, and like all those things becoming more significant. But after like a certain shift, like the shift is going to be like people in power are just going to like fuck people up to a point where people themselves are going to choose, like, we don't want these structures, like all these structures are broken, we see through this, and that's why we choose our own leaders, right? So I mean, I don't know, that's the shift that I'm expecting. And I'm sort of seeing it play out in its own way, like Trump being elected, like all the bullshit with Kanye, and like all the right wing politics stuff that's happening in the world,
Yeah,
right? Like it feels so drastic, like it takes us backwards from all the work that we've been doing from 2018 until 2021. But
yeah,
it also makes sense because 2021 until 2025 has been the undoing, of all of that.
yeah.
But I also feel like this is the transformation moment, like all these things will happen because of which people will try to reclaim the power. And we're sort of seeing that. Like I think Grammys was a testament to that. Like Grammys was all black artists like winning, like it was crazy.
Yeah,
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 it was like the
yeah,
most unexpected. Like it was Kendrick Lamar won for a diss track. Like what the fuck, you know?
yeah.
Doichi won, Chappelle Rowan won.
Yeah.
So like I feel like that is the shift in Pluto and Aquarius that I want to see. Like because everything is collapsing, because everything sucks, there is going to be this massive shift in what the world actually desires, and like a change that comes from that.
I hope. I hope you're right, Rakshita. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I took a lot
So
of opium.
yeah, a lot of what of opium.
Hopium.
Oh, opium. I understood opium, and I was like, okay, okay, I can also smoke some opium. um. So okay, okay. Well, I have It's this is the last question, which is the only special segment in this podcast, which is when we travel beyond time and space. So I'm gonna put my shades on, which are my
Oh, I have my
time and
shades on.
space shades. You brought your shades on? Great.
Mhm.
Because we need to we need to protect our eyes. So now we are traveling in the Nova Express. You can see the whole universe. You can see whatever you want because we're traveling beyond time and space, right? We are not limited by our bodies. We are in the astral realm. So tell me, Rakshita, what is the most extreme future that you see?
The good extreme or the bad extreme?
Both. I wanna hear both.
Okay, so the good extreme is I see a world where everybody can thrive, like a universal basic income sort of situation, where AI is doing all the boring tasks like washing our dishes and doing laundry and taking your car for a wash, and humans are making art, you know, not the other way around. And the other end of this, like the shitty end of this, is like probably the opposite, like where humans are doing like washing dishes and like doing like data entry on like Excel sheets and like all of that, and AI is just like making art and getting famous on social media, and yeah, like AI celebrities and I don't know, all of that, like yeah, so that's the other end of it. And also like no artists, no human artists are struggling. It's all industry plants everywhere. Nothing against industry plants, but we need some real artists too. So
Yeah.
none of that. So that's the other end that I see. What about you?
Okay.
I'm really curious.
Oh, I see. I think we're living through a psychic war, between like, again, like domination kind of consciousnesses
Right,
and collaborative kind of consciousnesses. So what
right.
I fear is that Elon Musk and all these guys will become semi-gods when they achieve AGI and they actually plug Neuralink into their brains. And what they are doing is they are trying to build the most sophisticated platform for human control in the history of humanity. And that as we continue moving forward, humans will have less freedom and will be more controlled by this kind of like entities. And that the only way against that will be by developing our consciousness and having groups of people with expanded consciousness that will be able to fight what is happening in the astral realm, because we cannot win.
Oh, that psyops is so real. I feel you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the psyops that's happening right now is crazy because
it's
you know,
crazy.
like when I hang out in the east there is no psyops because like my friends are not on the internet.
Right,
um
right.
uh, yeah, yeah, but on the other side, the minute I plug into the crypto world or I meet my friends on the west, you know, there is so much social climbing and there is like a different level of capitalism happening. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know. What are you going to do with all these fillers on your face? You don't need them. You're 23. And they're like,
you don't
no,
need them.
somebody told me I need them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like I feel that a lot of the technologies that are being developed are like the lower astral.
Yeah,
So
it's
like,
all consumerism, man. It's
yeah,
all like to increase your intake
yeah,
and
and
not your
like all,
output. None of this is increasing your output.
it's not. It's not. And
Yeah.
also stuff like I don't know, Neuralink. So I was like seeing this talk by this like Silicon Valley guy who invests in like Neuralink competitors and stuff, and he was really excited, saying like, no, when AGI happens, the only way out is, so we want AGI to happen, but when it happens, we need to be ready by plugging ourselves to AGI and plugging ourselves to like the internet. So like only the rich people will be able to do it at first, right? And like the rest of the people won't. And he was saying stuff like, oh, you'll be able to like have like telepathy and all these things. And I was like listening through, and I was like, we already know how to do this. We don't need a hardware device. We just need
Right.
like occult traditions, you know. And you can go to
Exactly.
Mars. You don't
Yeah.
need to go to Mars on a spaceship. I mean, it's cool, but I can go to Mars. So that's why I think sometimes it's like the lower astral, and
Yeah.
instead of developing like the most sophisticated piece of software that we have, which is our consciousness,
Yeah. We just
we're
need to
building
like
all these things.
mature.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I just
but
read
I
an
hope you're
article.
right.
Yeah, I just
Sorry, go
read an
ahead.
article the other day about how being offline is the new status symbol. Like Gen Alpha kids and a lot of Gen Z kids are now choosing not to be online anymore, especially
Oh,
if like the profession is not tied to that anymore as a part of status symbol. Like if you're privileged, why would you be on the internet and like go
yeah,
through all that bullshit,
yeah, yeah,
right?
totally.
And
And,
that makes sense.
and all these like entities on the internet, they're like absorbing the energy, like the
Yeah, and
astral
all these
energy, right,
entities are
of the
not
world.
even real anymore. Like they are just like AI agents.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
you cannot tell the difference.
no.
Yeah, yeah. So well, but I hope you are right, and I hope like the outcome is. I think it will be a combination of both.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, nothing. Usually, that's the case, right? Like both things are true, good
I
and
feel like
bad.
we
It's not
live
good
in
or bad.
Gen Z, you know. I feel like Gen Z is like extremely self-aware. Like
Who?
extremely. I feel like Gen Z, like I'm Gen Z, you know, and
Uh
like a
huh.
lot of my friends who are Gen Z are like extremely self-aware. You
What
know,
is Gen Z?
Gen Z is like people who are born between 1997 to 2003.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, like
I'm
after
older.
millennials.
I'm almost a boomer. I
Oh
was born in
no! I'm sorry if I said
1984.
I'm old.
1984. Not a
Yeah,
boomer, but
gotcha.
older.
Yeah. So
Cool.
Gen Z is actually like really self-aware. So I'm like a little hopeful.
Real like that. So I think like this was like I loved this conversation. I really liked like everything we covered, going deep
I'm
into
sorry,
I
I hope
guess.
it was not all like weird gibberish, man.
I mean that's what I wanted. So like don't be sorry. Like
Okay.
this was my. I mean I didn't have any expectations because I try not having expectations, but
Right,
I wanted to talk to you about like the deep stuff. So like thank you for
right.
sharing everything and all your personal
Thanks for reaching out.
journey.
It was lovely talking to you, man.
Like any other like last thing you would like to add before we say goodbye? Any last thoughts or anything?
Um, Not really. Like, but I'm definitely gonna like document some of my Nepal trip, and I'm also going to an ashram after this.
Nice.
You know, to volunteer for Mahashivratri. So I'm gonna document that as well. But I feel like sometimes when you don't have answers in science, it's okay to like look within and be a little crazy because I feel like human intelligence is so much more beyond science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, Rakshita, thank you so much for being here. And where can people follow you? Like, what's your like I don't know, like Twitter, Farcaster,
Mostly like Twitter or Farcaster. Like that's good.
Aquarian, right?
Yeah.
I'll share it anyways, of course. Cool. So well,
Awesome.
thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have
Bye
a good day.
bye.
Sure. Bye bye.
Bye.